There is arguably no one else on the F1 grid right now that's had more of a rollercoaster F1 career than Pierre Gasly. He's had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows all in the space of about 3 years, from his Red Bull promotion to his Red Bull demotion after only a few months at the team, then to winning his first Grand Prix around a year later. Oh, and along the way he lost one of his closest friends growing up in absolutely tragic circumstances. So by any measure, Pierre Gasly has seen it all in his 3 and a bit seasons in the top flight of motorsport. But you know what they say, out of adversity comes opportunity, and there is no better case of this than Pierre Gasly. Going through these extremely tough and testing stages of his career has moulded him into an exceptional racing driver, one that is respected by everyone in the paddock, and his skill behind the wheel has really shone through driving at the AlphaTauri team in the past year or so. But being at a team like AlphaTauri will get you the odd podium or random win, but you'll never win a title. So for this video, I'm going to analyse how Pierre can win the ultimate prize, a Formula 1 World Championship. So Pierre's F1 journey starts all the way back in 2017 at the Malaysian Grand Prix, when he made his Formula 1 debut for Toro Rosso, replacing Daniel Kvyat. He then drove in 5 of the last 6 races that season, but failed to score any points. However, it was 2018 when we really started to see Pierre show some great potential. At round 2 in Bahrain, he qualified 6th and finished the race in a spectacular P4, while his teammate Brendan Hartley finished last. And well, following this, a few more solid points finishes that season meant he had done enough to be noticed by those at the senior team, Red Bull Racing. So when news came out that Daniel Ricciardo would be leaving Red Bull to go to Renault for 2019, Pierre Gasly was confirmed as his replacement. This was Pierre's first proper high of his career. But this high wouldn't last long, as he underperformed compared to Verstappen. His actual results were by no means terrible, but it was in the context of his teammate. For example, at the Austrian Grand Prix he finished 7th, which isn't awful, but he was lapped by Verstappen, who then went on to win the race. Basically, it was clear that Pierre wasn't ready to be promoted yet. He really should have had more time at Toro Rosso before getting the call-up. So guess what Red Bull decided to do? They replaced Gasly mid-season with a guy called Alexander Albon, who had even less experience in Formula 1, 12 races to be exact, compared to Pierre's 26. And so at the 2019 Belgian Grand Prix, Pierre Gasly was dropped from Red Bull after only 12 races. Now, this is already probably the worst moment of his racing career, but on that same weekend came some terrible news. Following Formula 1 qualifying, the Formula 2 sprint race was getting underway. In the opening laps of the race, young Frenchman Antoine Hubert lost control heading up Eau Rouge and crashed into the tyre barrier before his car then careered into the middle of the track, directly into the path of the Charouse of Juan Manuel Correa. The impact was too much for Hubert to take, and he passed away only an hour or so after the accident. The whole motorsport world was shocked and devastated, but no one more so than Pierre Gasly. Pierre and Antoine were best friends. Both coming from France, they grew up in karts together by each other's side before both moving into single-seaters and becoming housemates for 6 years. After the news of Pierre's demotion from Red Bull, Antoine sent Pierre a message saying everything will work out in the end. It was a cruel reminder to Pierre and Formula 1 that most racing, no matter how hard they try, can never be completely safe. This was the lowest of lows Pierre had ever had in his career. But from this point on, Pierre would channel this pain onto the racetrack, and from here on out, the only way was up. At the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix, a brilliant race saw him finish 2nd, which was his first ever podium in Formula 1. Then at the renamed AlphaTauri team, Pierre would be incredible all season, taking 10 points finishes as well as that spectacular first win in Monza around a year after that awful weekend in Belgium. Pierre was unstoppable, pushing aside any teammates he was put against and continuing to impress the Formula 1 world. That now brings us to the current season. Now teamed up with young swearing machine Yuki Tsunoda, as of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Pierre has scored points in every single race he has finished, which in an AlphaTauri is quite an achievement. But his best performance came at the 6th race in Baku, with a brilliant 4th in qualifying and an unexpected P3 and 3rd career podium. And so, as of the current day, Pierre keeps going from high to high, and the rest of 2021 is looking good for him, providing his car remains competitive. But that's not what this video is about. That's right, I'm looking at whether Pierre Gasly can be an F1 world champion. But what does it actually take to be a world champion? Well, you need three things: superior ability, consistency, and a team that can deliver a race-winning car. So let's first look at his ability. Well, as I've touched on many times in this video already, Pierre has certainly no shortage of skill, but how does he stack up against the rest of the field? Well, in his time in F1, he has beaten all the teammates he's been given, apart from Verstappen, obviously. But the Pierre of new is a different beast to 2019. What I would say is Pierre doesn't have the ability to win a title, at the moment. But with a few more years under his belt, I reckon he'll be in a great position in regards to his skill. And in regards to his consistency, well, I think his results this season so far speak for themselves. This brings me to arguably the most important aspect: the team. Now, in terms of which options Pierre has moving forward, I think there's three that could deliver him a title in years to come. So the first one, which in my opinion is the most unlikely, he returns to Red Bull. Now, this is more dependent on Red Bull rather than Pierre, but we have seen them take drivers back, having sacked them in the past. Daniel Kvyat is one example, albeit for Toro Rosso. But if Pierre is wanting to win a championship, partnering Max Verstappen will make that almost impossible. So imagine this: Lewis Hamilton retires from Formula 1 in the next few years, and Mercedes sign Max Verstappen as his replacement. This would now make sense for Red Bull to sign Gasly and for Gasly to go to Red Bull with a shot of a championship. But there are a lot of ifs and buts in this example, so it's by no means a likely outcome. So option 2, and it's the one I think is the best choice for Pierre and also is the most likely. And that is to stay at AlphaTauri for 1, maybe 2 more years, then reevaluate his options. Due to the crazy driver market moves that took place last season, there are very few availabilities at a top team for 2022. And so I think it will make more sense to wait a year or two, not just for some contracts to end and seats to open up, but also so he can get a better idea of which teams have dealt with the regulation changes the best. So therefore, I reckon Pierre's best shot is to be patient and wait another year or two to see which teams are competitive and which seats are available after the regulation changes. And you never know, when Hamilton retires, he could find himself at Mercedes. So to directly answer the question, can Pierre Gasly be an F1 world champion? Absolutely, but not yet. He still needs a few years both to develop as a driver and become one of the best on raw speed, but also to take his time when choosing which team to join. Because the last thing he wants is to rush into a new team that has zero hope and waste away valuable years. He is 25 after all, so he's still got 7 or 8 more years in his prime to have a shot at the title. So there's no point in rushing anything. So while I think he should stay at AlphaTauri for maybe 1 or 2 more seasons, then reevaluate his options, I'd love to hear what you think. So comment below which route you think he'll take, and as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell to be reminded of any new videos.